He was a scholar so dedicated to truth that, according to one account, he sold his own books just to keep learning. A thinker whose brilliance both inspired admiration and provoked controversy. His name was Origen, arguably one of the boldest minds of early Christianity, a man who challenged boundaries not only of theology, but of courage itself. Born around 184 AD in the bustling city of Alexandria, where cultures collided and philosophies competed for dominance, Origen entered a world of sharp debate and constant religious scrutiny. His father, Leonides, nurtured his son's intellectual curiosity from the very beginning, often standing by his bedside, whispering prayers of gratitude for the mind he believed was touched by divine favour. But Origen's early life would be shaped as much by tragedy as by education. When he was still a boy, his father was arrested and executed during a wave of Roman persecution against Christians. Stripped of family security, Origen's childhood ended abruptly, yet rather than breaking him, this loss ignited an even fiercer resolve. Prevented from following his father to martyrdom only by his mother's desperate intervention, she hid his clothes to keep him from rushing into the streets. Origen threw himself into study with an intensity that astonished those around him. Barely out of adolescence, at just 18, he was appointed head of the Catechetical School of Alexandria, a renowned institution where religious ideas clashed and intersected. Here, pagans, Jews, and Christians gathered, not in peace, but in vigorous, passionate debate. These were not polite exchanges, they were contests of intellect and conviction, where every argument was sharpened like a blade, every word carefully chosen. In this crucible of discussion, Origen quickly distinguished himself. He did not simply repeat established doctrine. His lectures challenged assumptions, raised uncomfortable questions, and explored daring interpretations. Crowds packed the hall to witness this young teacher who wielded scripture and philosophy with equal mastery, dissecting difficult passages with precision and offering bold explanations that both captivated and unsettled. Driven by an almost insatiable hunger for knowledge, Origen pursued every avenue of learning. He refused to rely on translations alone, choosing instead to master Hebrew so he could engage directly with the Old Testament in its original form. But his interest stretched far beyond biblical texts. He immersed himself in the works of Plato and Aristotle, studied Stoicism, and conversed with thinkers from rival schools. His approach was fearless. He believed that truth could withstand scrutiny, that faith should welcome inquiry, not shy away from it. Perhaps the most ambitious symbol of his scholarly devotion was the Hexapla, a monumental work that placed the Hebrew scriptures side by side with 5 different Greek versions. Far from being a mere academic exercise, this project reflected Origen's deep desire for clarity and honesty in interpreting sacred texts. It was not about proving others wrong, it was about bringing light to difficult questions, about seeking understanding through patient, meticulous comparison. But Origen's brilliance was not without consequence. His ideas unsettled many of his contemporaries. He suggested, controversially, that souls pre-existed before birth, a notion that opened uncomfortable debates about human nature and divine justice. He speculated that perhaps even Satan could one day find redemption, proposing that divine mercy knew no limits. His reflections on free will pushed against rigid interpretations of fate and predestination. To his admirers, he was a beacon of intellectual courage. To his detractors, a dangerous provocateur undermining the foundations of the faith. Then there was the act that has haunted Origen's biography ever since, taking literally the words of Christ about those who make themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Origen, according to early sources, chose to castrate himself, a decision born not from madness, but from his extreme commitment to purity and teaching. He believed such a step would silence rumours and remove any obstacles to instructing both men and women with integrity. While later church authorities would denounce the act, it remains a stark symbol of his willingness to sacrifice personal comfort for spiritual discipline. Yet Origen's contribution to Christian thought cannot be measured by a single event. His pen was as relentless as his mind. Over 6,000 works, ranging from scriptural commentaries and philosophical dialogues to homilies and personal letters, are attributed to him. Among these, On First Principles stands out as one of the earliest attempts to weave Christian belief into a coherent framework. It addresses profound questions about the nature of God, the meaning of existence, and the relationship between the material and the spiritual. Origen lived through turbulent times. The shifting politics of the Roman Empire brought repeated waves of persecution. Late in his life, under the rule of Emperor Decius, he was arrested and subjected to brutal torture for his refusal to renounce his beliefs. Though eventually released, the damage inflicted on his body was irreversible. His health declined rapidly after his ordeal. Around the year 253 AD in the city of Tyre, Origen's extraordinary journey came to an end. Though his writings would later face condemnation at church councils, his influence remains undeniable. His courage to question, to explore and to wrestle with faith continues to echo through the corridors of history.